Next question today is from Lopez. Lopez says, won't businesses just move to other countries if we increase taxes on them? Basically, the answer is no, not in any statistically significant way. This is a very common canard that's floated by the anti-tax right in the United States and maybe also in Europe, although I follow that less closely. The idea here is if you are a corporation and the government increases your taxes, you would be incentivized to move your operation to some other country that has a lower tax rate. There's a couple things that we have to discuss there, but let's start with the sort of most basic. I mean, American companies mostly are American. Yes, there are multinationals which already are doing business all over the world, and they can more easily move their headquarters, if not all physical presence. But what you have to remember is a lot of those companies have already established all sorts of tax shelters and havens. So that's not going to dramatically change if they've already determined, well, we do better by having an Irish headquarters, but we still have the American presence because we have the United States as such a major market. That is one reason why they are not going to say we're going to relinquish our position in the United States altogether. The other thing you have to remember is even though you might be able to avoid some American business taxes if you move your operation to another country, then you risk having added tariffs if you still want to do business with American consumers and corporations. And that in some cases may end up sort of zeroing out the tax benefit. But most importantly, all but the biggest businesses are simply not going to move to other countries. If you consider all small businesses and even most medium-sized businesses that operate primarily in the United States, if you have a huge roofing company or a construction company, not like a local construction company, but the big real estate companies, and you basically work in the US, why are you going to move to another country? It doesn't make any sense. It's logistically significant. It's a logistically significant undertaking. And you're an American company with American customers and all American speaking, American English speaking employees. So it's just not practical to think that that's what people are going to do. Now, we actually have some data where we can analyze this because the same claim has been made for a really long time about rich people. It's easier for a rich person to move to another country or to a lower tax state than it is for a huge company to move from one country to another. And it turns out that millionaires don't move very much. Millionaires actually move way less than poor people, about half the rate. Only 2.4% of millionaires move in any given year versus 4.5% of poorer Americans. And interestingly, when millionaires do decide to move, they slightly favor lower tax states, slightly. Many millionaires are moving to higher tax states. Many millionaires move to states with the same level of tax, and some millionaires move to lower tax states. And for 85% of them, the tax rate in the state they are moving to is not an important consideration. If you go from looking at millionaires to looking at billionaires, 84% of billionaires live in their country of birth, period. And there's no solid evidence that tax rates are influencing them in terms of where it is that they want to live. But here's the really important part. 84% of billionaires live in their birth country. 16% of billionaires don't live in their birth country, but almost all of them moved to that country before they were billionaires, meaning that if the tax rate was a consideration, it was a consideration in some vague, distant way. If they ever are billionaires, they'd be better off in one country versus another, rather than I'm moving now because I want to save money on taxes. So, of course, when you get to the margins, you have to consider if a government puts ridiculously high taxes on corporations, it is going to serve as more of an incentive to move country for that reason. What we're talking about in the United States about eliminating loopholes and write-offs and some of these other mechanisms that exist for corporations to end up paying almost no taxes or sometimes no taxes or even getting tax credits, even though they made profit. For the most part, these are changes well within the sort of reasonable that are not going to cause those businesses to relocate. I'm sure you can find individual instances of anything in a country of 330 million people. But from a macroeconomic level, it's been widely debunked.